also, I think more traumatic is this porn that's being peddled. And you said 39 states allow porn in the classrooms, and it's happening in the other states where it's not allowed because, as you mentioned, law enforcement and sheriffs are afraid to be called names and bigots and transphobes and the like. And I'm telling you that, to me, the first time I saw a video of the drag queen story hour with these 5-year-olds and this person who is all made up as a woman when it's simply not a woman, clearly not a woman, I thought that's pedophilia. We as a society register before they move into a new neighborhood with children. How can we be, in the same breath, how can we be allowing those same kind of perverts in classrooms to be ideology? That's the disconnect I don't get. Why aren't we requiring teachers to register as sex offenders when they push this nonsense on our kids?
Hey, man. Well, again, because in most cases, it's legal. They are clearly exempted. They're exempted from any criminal prosecution. What these statutes are called are obscenity exemption statutes, which means that you can show this to a child. And it doesn't matter how hard the pornography is. It doesn't matter how young the child is. If you can say, well, this is part of our lesson today, and it's part of his education, there's no problem, no handcuffs. So I think what's happening is there's a larger push to normalize pedophilia. Look, the people who are saying that pedophiles, it's a mean word. It's mean to call them pedophiles. So we have to just call them minor attracted persons. So to try to normalize everything, to try to normalize talking to children about sex. Now, we're starting in childhood and pre-K, talking to children about their gender and how they feel. Do they feel like a boy? Do they feel like a girl? Talking to them about their genitals and how they feel about it. I mean, I am not that old, but up until 5 minutes ago in history, anybody that came up to a toddler or or any child and started talking to them about their private parts was the town pariah, and they were probably going to be taken out back somewhere and beat to a pulp if they were allowed to even stay in town at all. I'm sorry to be so direct, but that's the truth. And now all of a sudden we have to embrace these people and let them have their voice. This is coming down from the White House, the teachers' unions, the American Library Association, the Human Rights Campaign, Planned Parenthood, and SECUS, and they all have influence in schools in all 50 states, and they all pressure teachers, even the ones that don't want to do it, to push this stuff because they hold their jobs over their heads. And the rest of them, they're in on it, and they love it, and I can't figure it out.
Teachers' unions are, in my opinion, one of the most evil factors in education today. And that's not saying anything bad about teachers. That's not saying anything bad about public education. It's just a matter of fact. Look at the things that teachers' unions, as you just brought up, support and push among their members. And it all starts at the top, too. I mean, this is happening on local levels. But the Federal Department of Education, which I pray to God that someday soon it will be completely eliminated or decentralized, because I graduated high school the year that the DOE was signed into law by Jimmy Carter. And at that time, the United States was #1 in the world in education before the Department of Education, before the Federal Department of Education.
Yep.
Today, we're 24th and falling fast. So, obviously, a Federal Department of Education, which, only 9% of local schools, only 9% of their budget comes from the feds, but 90% of the curriculum does. And the Federal Department of Education has been so infested with the teachers' unions and the powerful lobbies in Washington, D.C. If it's not moved out of D.C., it should be eliminated. Your opinion on that?
Well, I absolutely think that their focus isn't on education anymore.
No.
They're constantly just popping in new curriculums that cost tens of millions of dollars that just enrich their friends. And I can only imagine if we could follow the money, people would be getting kickbacks. Their focus, again, the DOE spent $1 billion during the Biden administration on DEI programs, which include everything about racism, LGBTQ, and all that. Their focus is on social services for children. So you hear all the governors, especially in blue states, saying, we need to give children 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch for all children, not just children who need it. They have therapists in schools now. There's a school in Massachusetts where kids can get haircuts for free. Now they're bringing in medical services in the schools. They're trying to create government-addicted children. Mm-hmm. And so they're not, and the education is so far down on the list of priorities, and it shows. Only 40% of American public school students can read at or above grade level.
Well, Joe Biden.
That's 60% that can't.
Yeah, what Joe Biden said, for 8 hours a day, they're our kids. Didn't he say that? That's an exact quote from the current sitting president, who
sounds like him.
Thank goodness is only going to be in office another week. And I have great hope. I mean, the machine is so large, but I have great hope that Pam Bondi, as Attorney General, head of the DOJ, puts an end to this, ceases it immediately upon being confirmed and taking office. Every day, I just think, okay, we've just got another few days and things are going to turn around. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic at this point. Elena Barbera, tell me about American Groomer.
So my film is about the sexualization of children in American public schools. 50 million kids are being subjected to this every single day. A little bit about the history of how it happened, who's behind it, and exactly how horrible this is for kids and what we can do about it. And it's free to watch. It's only 36 minutes, and I hope people will watch it and get as angry as me. And you can see it for free at AmericanGroomerFilm.com.
AmericanGroomerFilm.com.
Yes.
So where did you kind of tell me where did the based mother come from?
It's somebody called me that once on the internet when I was doing about 2.5 years ago. My son randomly asked me to sit with him for a video on a new YouTube channel he was starting, and I had never been on the internet before, other than just a normal person with a Facebook account. And so he asked me. I said yes, and this channel took off. And somebody called me the based mother because I tell the truth a lot, and I say it like it is, and it gets me in trouble sometimes, but that's what that means.
Well, the truth shall set us all free. The truth should never get you in trouble. And I'm just giving you this little bit of edification going forward. I think things are turning around. Keep up the good work, and thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me again.
You got it. Elena Barbera, AmericanGroomerFilm.com, if you want to check that out. And let's just hope and pray, mainly pray, that things, at least at the federal level, get turned around and starts guiding the rest of us in the right direction. The Nightcap continues in moments on 700 WLW.
Waking up with Mike McConnell makes me feel good.
Mike's the best part of my day.
Mike's got the news, weather, traffic, sports.
And I love that Mike McConnell charm.
He ought to bottle his charm and sell it on eBay.
I feel good when you feel good, and you feel good when you start your day the right way, getting the morning essentials from me, Mike McConnell.
I'd buy a gallon of McConnell charm and hose down my husband.
Come and feel the goodness.
Be a morning lover with Mike McConnell. Tomorrow morning at 5 on 700 WLW.
With a grand in your hand, you could get professional throwing axes.
No!
Or maybe something else. A grand in your hand, you could win $1,000. Listen for your chances to win every weekday.
Hi, Kevin St. Clair here with my wife, Alyssa St. Clair.
After 3 generations, we're proud to say that we are over 70 years strong.
We're just one big family, so give us a call and let us show you why we are your home's trusted problem solver.
Ray St. Clair Roofing. Cincinnati men's basketball is back in action at Fifth Third Arena. From jaw-dropping hoops to electrifying halftime performances, this is a season you won't want to miss. Feel the energy. Experience the thrill. Get tickets today at GoBearcats.com/tickets or call 1-877-CATS-TICKS.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals with savings beyond low prices. Like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
We've locked in low prices to help you save big store-wide. Look for the locked in low prices tags and enjoy extra savings throughout the store. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Well, did you know Future Health can connect you with doctors specializing in GLP-1s? Yeah, they're the meds revolutionizing weight loss. They go by a lot of different names, actually. Ozempic and semaglutide. And they work wonders. Find out if they're right for you in just 3 minutes at tryfh.com. It's that easy. Tryfh.com. Tryfh.com.
Tryfh.com.
Future Health is not a healthcare services provider. Meds are prescribed at provider's discretion. Results may vary. Sponsored by Future Health.
Coming up after news, Lee Womgant, another woman on a mission, just like the one you just heard. It's the nightcap for Monday, January 13th, 2025. I'm Gary Jeff Walker, and we return in moments.
News, traffic, and weather. News Radio 700 WLW, Cincinnati.
The first round of girders in place. With the 10:30 report, I'm Lee Mowen. Breaking now. That's some of the sounds from Monday morning construction on top of I-471 South as crews continue to work on the Big Mac Bridge. With 3 girders installed, crews brought in another 2 this afternoon and 2 more due to arrive in town tomorrow. ODOT also reporting reinforced steel will arrive on Thursday. 4 people were charged last month in the November 1st fire at the Thousand Hands Playground, where the accused arsonists, Zachary Stump and Terry Stiles, could each face the maximum sentence of 38.5 years in prison. ODOT still plans for a mid-March opening. Now the latest traffic and weather together. We do have a report of a crash. It's on the right shoulder of I-71 southbound between exit 15 Pfeiffer Road and Ronald Reagan Highway. However, looking at the OGO cameras, not seeing anything, so you should be good. And you're looking good, Cincinnati.
Now the latest forecast from the Train Heating and Cooling Weather Center on News Radio 700 WLW.
Looks like we'll be mostly cloudy by daybreak, a 7 a.m. temperature of 12. The rest of our Tuesday, some light snow through midday, about a dusting, maybe a bit more, a high of 23. At night, gradual clearing, but we really drop down to 4, wind chills below 0. From your severe weather station, I'm 9 First Warning Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. News Radio 700 WLW.
No precipitation in the tri-state area. It's currently 14 degrees. At least 24 people dead, with over a dozen unaccounted for from the multiple wildfires across Southern California. Now Now the brave firefighters have another familiar challenger. The Santa Ana winds. Here's ABC's Alex Stone.
Already, those Santa Ana winds are blowing again. Now another PDS red flag warning has been issued. PDS standing for particularly dangerous situation. Up to 70-mile-per-hour winds are possible through Wednesday. The fires already burning could rage back to life or new ones could start. LA City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley.
We are not in the clear as of yet, and we must not let our guard down.
Vehicle parking rules are being enforced to keep roads clear for fire engines to access narrow roads. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
It's the last full week for President Joe Biden as he delivered remarks today at the State Department on his administration's foreign policy. With the latest, ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
President Biden touted his administration's efforts to support Ukraine in its war against Russia, using it as an example of how, in his view, his foreign policy has made American adversaries weaker. The president noted that Ukraine today is still a free and independent country, in part because of U.S. assistance, and he recalled his own trip there.
When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he'd conquer Kyiv in a matter of days. But the truth is, since that war began, I'm the only one that stood in the center of Kyiv, not him.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
A woman goes viral on a social media platform after claiming a Hamilton Burger King gave her something extra with her order, marijuana. On TikTok, username Jana Bama said in her video posted Sunday, she went through the drive-thru and checked her food, finding her child's chicken fries and several marijuana buds. That TikTok video has been viewed now over 781,000 times with nearly 77,000 likes. The manager of the restaurant told WCPO the incident was filmed on camera and the employee in question was fired. There's no word yet on any charges against the former employee. Our next update is at 11. I'm Lee Mowen, News Radio 700 WLW.
700 WLW Cincinnati. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now #1 for podcasting. 700 WLW, an iHeartRadio station.
With a grand in your hand, you could get professional throwing axes. Oh, or maybe something else. A grand in your hand, you could win $1,000. Listen for your chances to win every weekday.
Hi, Kevin St. Clair here with my wife, Alyssa St. Clair.
After 3 generations, we're proud to say that we are over 70 years strong.
We're just one big family, so give us a call and let us show you why we are your home's trusted problem solvers.
Ray St. Clair Roofing. Cincinnati men's basketball is back in action at Fifth Third Arena. From jaw-dropping hoops to electrifying halftime performances, a season you won't want to miss. Feel the energy. Experience the thrill. Get tickets today at GoBearcats.com/tickets or call 1-877-CATS-TICKS.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Remember when this was cutting edge? Yeah, that was decades ago, back when your phone had a cord and AI was just sci-fi. Today, Maryland runs on innovation, and that innovation requires serious power. AI, electric vehicles, smart tech, these aren't luxuries. They're the future of our economy. And Maryland needs new generation to serve them, but some want to drag us back by building this new generation through the monopolies at a higher cost. You know what that means? Economy where energy innovators can't compete, guaranteed higher prices for businesses and consumers, and Maryland getting left behind. We are better than that. When electricity generators compete for the best price and the best new ideas, Maryland wins. This is the power we need. Smarter, faster, more reliable, not some clunky system stuck in the past. Let's power the future, not relive the past.
As I mentioned before the break, it's not ladies' night, but it's ladies' hour. We just heard from Elena Barbera, the based mother, and a parents' rights advocacy group. And now we have our friend Lee Wamsgans, who joined us just a few weeks back. She's the chief communications officer, of Patriot Mobile LLC, also the founding board member, executive director of Patriot Mobile Action. And the latest blip, no pun intended, on Lee's radar came when she had a drone hovering over her home in North Texas. And we'll find out about that and so much more as we continue with the women tonight, the girls, on the nightcap on 700 WLW. Lee Wamsgans, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. No, I'm serious. I had Savannah Maddox, who is a fantastic representative in the state of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where I live on, at 9:30, and then I just and now you. So it is the trifecta of really smart women on this show, which would astound most people who know me. So it's great to have you.
I love it.
So you are hopeful, as I am hopeful, for so many things with the incoming Trump administration. Of course, this week is the beginning of confirmation week, and we hope it goes quickly for President Trump's nominees in places like the Department of Defense and in all the major cabinet positions. They're beginning this week with the grilling of Pete Hegseth and Doug Burgum, the former governor of North Dakota, who is going to be a part of the Trump administration, hopefully, in the Energy Department. What do you see as we get ready for Inauguration Day, 1 week from today, and President Trump is sworn in, and if he gets the nominees that he has selected in, do you see this being a whole big turnaround, or are we just chasing rainbows here, thinking that you can change the machine in Washington, D.C. with something as simple as a landslide election?
Well, I want all your listeners to, first of all, realize that, well, we all know January 20th can't get here fast enough. Right. But the work is just beginning. You know, the work isn't over because we won in November. The work is just beginning. And as you said, it's a busy week this week with all of the appointments and the hearings. One thing President Trump said last week that I was really glad to hear him say, that one of his first orders of business is going to be he's going to release a report about the origin of all of these crazy drones that we're seeing across the United States. I mean, there's not just a few states, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, California, and Texas. And the concerning is some of those are near the white settlement community just outside of Fort Worth, near the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve. That base is in Fort Worth. It houses the 301st Fighter Wing of the Air Force Reserve. This is very concerning, and this isn't it's not some abstract issue for me. This is very personal, because on the night of Saturday, December 21st, about 9:30 p.m., my very non-political neighbor called me saying, Lee, are you seeing the drone over your house? I was inside my home, completely unaware, ran out, barely saw the lights going away, but she had captured some video of it that she sent to me. So I'm telling you, this is completely unacceptable. I think it's trying to be normalized with American citizens. American citizens cannot normalize the acceptance of drones flying 30 to 40 feet over their homes and hovering. It's simply unacceptable.
Well, and you mentioned you're hopeful that President Trump sticks to his guns and is true to his word, and saying he will get down to the bottom as best he can of the origin of these drones, where they're coming from, why they are there, and who is behind them. And I think every American wants to know these things, especially after the just enormous amount of sightings in New Jersey. I'm thinking to myself, right. God, New Jersey, what do they want with New Jersey? I just kept flashing back to War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, where the aliens, the space aliens, invaded New Jersey of all places first. So I'm just like, I'm going back in my mind. You know what's funny, Lee, is all of us who have pointed out these incongruities and the lack of truth and transparency on so many issues for years.
Yes.
That our government has covered up. We're called conspiracy theorists. We're called wackos. We're called crazy. I was called a conspiracy theorist during COVID. I've been called a conspiracy theorist about any number of news stories that have wound up being absolutely true.
Right.
But covered up,
I mean,
covered up by the legacy mainstream media. And now, as we know, Mark Zuckerberg saying, yeah, they pressured us to not let certain things out on Facebook, on Meta. Go ahead, please.
Well, the Biden administration has escalated the erosion of the public trust in our national security, not only by his mental absence and lack of strength, but by his lack of transparency with this drone situation. And deservedly, he's faced criticism for lack of transparency over these drones, now reaching into the hundreds across America, many of those here in North Texas. You know, might I remind you, it was just a year ago of the weather balloon fiasco, where weather balloons were left to traverse our entire nation from west to east until they were shot down on February 4th by the U.S. Air Force. They shot it down over the U.S. territorial waters off the coast of South Carolina, but it had already traversed our entire country. And it wasn't until after it was shot down that they say, this was a Chinese spy balloon with massive surveillance capabilities. What government allows that to happen? I have to believe, I have really zero doubt if President Trump were in office, that weather balloon, first of all, wouldn't even tried it to come across our nation, but it certainly would not have made it across the entire country.
No, and just in the same way that I don't believe Hamas would have attacked Israel on October 7th of 2023.
100%.
You know,
100% agree.
And this incursion, you know, it's the incursions by Putin into Eastern Europe. First, it was Crimea. Happened under which president? Not President Trump, President Obama. Mm-hmm. The incursion into Ukraine happened not under President Trump. Putin never would have tried that under Trump, but it happened under Joe Biden. Weakness always breeds this kind of aggression out of our enemies every time.
Right. Peace through strength. Peace through strength. It's three simple words. It means the world. It means the difference between peace or wars. It means the difference between America and Americans getting attacked. It also means the difference between Americans being expected to accept and be fine with drones flying 30 feet over their house. Simply unacceptable.
So, I mean, any kind of description of this drone that your neighbor caught on video? What it looked like?
So, as you know, when you're looking in the air, things always look smaller, than they are.
Sure.
It looked to be, in the video, it looked to be about 4 feet wide, fairly square, maybe a little rectangle, but more square. I mean, this isn't a kid's toy. This was a pretty massive aircraft. And, I've talked to several people about my right to privacy, Americans' rights to privacy. Constitutional originalists argue there is no right to privacy in the Constitution. However, there's Supreme Court rulings dating back to the 1920s that recognize there's three important clauses with broad privacy rights in our own homes and on our personal property. They're implied but not specific in the Bill of Rights. For example, First Amendment, we have the right to have privacy of our own beliefs. The Third Amendment, the right to protect our homes against the government forcing us to house soldiers. That's the Third Amendment. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches within the home. Well, let me tell you something. I want to know what that drone over my home was doing. I want to know, does it have X-ray vision? Because we know the technology is very common.
Yep.
And I believe the 14th Amendment says no state should deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. That's a violation of my personal property rights. When an entity is flying a drone over personal homes, they are invading personal property, and I believe that is an invasion of property without reason or a warrant, and I believe it's unconstitutional.
Amen. I tell you what, that's a great place for us to break, Lee. We'll come back. Lee Wamsgans is with us to talk about the state of the nation and to talk about hopefully where we're going in about a week's time, at least turning around this big ship we call the United States of America. It's the Nightcap, and it continues in mere moments on 700 WLW.
Do you like to listen to Scott Sloan?
Whenever I need a good, solid dose of common sense, I'm listening to Sloaney.
I can always use some Sloaney common sense.
But he's more than common sense. He's smart and funny.
And he's not all preachy with an agenda. He actually speaks his mind.
He ought to win a Nobel Prize for not being a talk show teabag.
Talk show teabag? I think you mean talk show D-bag.
Whatever, you know what I mean.
Scott Sloan, tomorrow morning at 9 on 700 WLW. And check out his podcast on the free iHeartRadio app.
With a grand in your hand, you could get professional throwing axes. No, or maybe something else. A grand in your hand, you could win $1,000. Listen for your chances to win every weekday.
Hi, Kevin St. Clair here with my wife, Alyssa St. Clair.
After 3 generations, we're proud to say that we are over 70 years strong.
We're just one big family, so give us a call and let us show you why we are your home's trusted problem solver.
Ray St. Clair Roofing. Single game tickets for Cincinnati women's basketball are on sale now. Don't miss the Bearcats, led by head coach Katrina Merriweather, in Fifth Third Arena for year 2 in the Big 12 Conference. Join the sisterhood. Get your tickets today at gobearcats.com/tickets or call 1-877-CATS-TICKS.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Drees Homes is not your cookie-cutter home builder. We build homes to fit your life.
Great! Can we add a big laundry room with a dog wash?
Oh, absolutely.
Ooh, how about a moat?
Oh, honey.
A moat?
With a drawbridge.
Do not listen to him.
While a moat might be a stretch, Drees Homes likes your style. And for a limited time, we're offering below-market rate financing to get you started on your new build.
So, no moat?
How about a man cave?
Oh, I like that.
Get started today. Visit us at dreeshomes.com. We like your style.
Vaporize your cold with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Whoa.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever power through your day. Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
All right, we're back on the Nightcap with Lee Wamsgans, Chief Communications Officer of Patriot Mobile LLC, founding board member, executive director of Patriot Mobile Action, and someone who just had a drone hovering over her house in North Texas. Who is it? What were they doing? And why were they invading her home? Those are the questions. Speaking of invasions, hopefully another invasion is about to end. The mass invasion of foreign criminal trespassers on American soil, known as illegal immigrants, and the open border, no border, welcome policy the Biden administration has had, seemingly is about to end, but is it too little too late, Lee? That's the question.
Well, we have certainly been invaded, and this is going to take a lot of work to right the ship. You know, here in Texas, the official numbers, and now you need to understand when I give you these numbers, this does not include the gotaways, so it's probably 10 times this. The official numbers, more than 1 million people have verified to cross over a border during the Biden administration.
More than how many million?
11 million is what's verified in
just
the Texas document.
Just across the Texas border. You're not including you're not including California or Arizona.
No, and when people hear all these big numbers all the time, and by the way, that's not including the gotaways. You know that it's at least 4 times, probably 10 times that. But 11 million, that's a number larger than the population in 40 of our states. You know, Texas is only little over 31 million people.
Yeah.
That's a third of our state. This is a lot of illegal immigrants, and they are criminals simply by the fact that when they crossed our border illegally, they broke the law. Okay? Texas authorities alone have seized more than 500 lethal doses of fentanyl. That's enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in America and Mexico. That is what Operation Lone Star and our Texas authorities have done. since March 2021. This has just really been insanity. The invasion has been going on a long time. And as I said, President Trump can't get in there fast enough, looking very forward to legal immigration only and closing the border to illegal immigration.
Well, if the gotaways are estimated to be 4 times as many as the official number, that's like more than 10% of the population that was here before.
People should be very alarmed.
I saw a report the other day, Lee, by someone else, and I can't put my finger on who it was at this point, but they were talking about an 1,000 man terror network that is ready to strike at any time. And this is the reason that this is one of the reasons this is so important. Not to mention the terror of the fentanyl that's been brought across the border illegally, which is certainly a terrorist act. It's narco terror, if nothing else, if not political terror, just to undermine the American people. But then you've got all of the strains on taxpayer-supported resources, from education to medicine, and the gift cards. And listen, we're a very generous people. We want to help our neighbor generally, but this is absolutely more than we should bear when it takes away resources from American-born citizens, and that has happened over and over. There are schools that have been taken over as migrant shelters, and the activities for the kids who were born here are canceled. They're moved off of their campuses, so the illegals, not to mention the bills, the billion-dollar bills for the luxury hotels that have been paid for by you and me as American taxpayers in New York City and elsewhere.
So your viewers need to see Line in the Sand. It's a fairly new documentary by James O'Keefe, and it is alarming. They go into a lot of these areas and are filming what's really happening, what taxpayers are really paying for. They go to New York. They disguise themselves as an illegal immigrant. They're handed everything they need. They interview the police officers there. The police officers just say, hey, you voted for this, and they are just so beat down. But in Texas alone, you talk about the cost. In Texas alone, the Federation for American Immigration Reform put out a report in 2023. I almost want to say last year. I still can't get used to it being 2025. But in 2023, so keep in mind we've got about a year and a half of costs not estimated into this, but it's over $13 billion a year. That's what illegal immigrants cost Texas alone. Texas taxpayers.
$13 billion just in Texas.
$13 billion. This report is from March 8th, 2023. Texas taxpayers are paying nearly $13.4 billion a year, and that includes their housing, their education, indigent medical care, and that doesn't even include all of their medical care, because federal law requires Texas public hospitals to treat anyone regardless of their nationality, regardless of their immigration status. In August of this year, Texas Governor Abbott came forth with an order for Texas public hospitals to start counting the cost of illegal immigration care that we're giving, not saying you can't give it because federal law requires it, but to start counting the cost. So keep in mind when you're listening to that $13.4 billion number, that's not even including real medical care from all of Texas public hospitals they haven't even reported yet. That requirement went into effect November 1st, 2024. So we've just started to count that medical care cost. And we've got veterans who've served this country who can't even get their medical care, dying of cancer, can't get their surgeries in time. It's just, I don't know if it's George Costanza's Opposite World. I don't know if you're a friend of that show, but it's just like this alternate reality. Nothing makes sense anymore. We've got to make sense of the chaos and get America back, or it's gone.
So not only are these migrants who enter the country illegally, and by the way, I think we'd be remiss if we did not mention all of the NGOs and so-called charity networks that are working with the criminal coyote gangs to bring these people in, or the corrupt governments, the corrupt failed governments in places like Venezuela who opened up their prisons and pushed the criminals across our border with a nod and a wink. I mean,
yes, I call them the human trafficking industrial complex. America has created this human trafficking industry by this open borders policy. And if you want to know what the kindest thing that you can do to these women and children, and yes, some men, but mainly women and children who are being brutalized by the sex trafficking and human trafficking, is you close the border and you close down that human trafficking industrial complex that we have opened at the border.
Amen. Lee Wamsgans, with just a couple minutes left, talk to me about China Land, because this is something else that I don't think is on a lot of people's radar.
Well, it surprises a lot of people in the Texas House of Representatives that we've not already banned China owning land in the state of Texas. But our Speaker of the House two sessions ago sent the House home instead of holding hearings on the law that would have banned China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia from owning land in Texas. But instead of having that vote, he decided to send everyone home, so there wasn't a hearing. So therefore, what that means is it killed the bill. So all of those countries can still own land in Texas and every state in the nation, and I believe federally, those 4 countries should be banned from it. It might surprise people to know Texas has the largest amount of foreign-held U.S. agriculture land with over 5.6 million acres. Chinese investors specifically own over 123,000 acres of Texas agricultural land. China owns land near military bases. Under the cover of agricultural purposes, these Chinese landlords can set up reconnaissance signs, install tracking technology, scanning to view bases, radar, fly drones over them. Here come the drones again. Mm-hmm. Even the Wall Street Journal, there's a September 2023 Wall Street Journal report that says Chinese intruders attempted to breach military facilities over 100 times in recent years. In Texas, China-owned land is near Fort Cavazos, that's formerly Fort Hood. That's near Killeen, Texas, and Camp Bullis. That's just northwest of San Antonio. 17 other bases around the country have China purchasing land around them. It is a national security problem. It needs to be solved at the state level in Texas. It also needs to be solved at the federal level in Washington, D.C.
Maybe things will turn around when we don't have a president in office who's owned by the Communist Chinese Party. Maybe.
Let's pray. That's our prayer. That's our prayer. As I said, January 20th can't get here fast enough.
Lee Wamsgans, give me a place where people can check out more of your information.
So we have several entities. One is a political action committee, which is a separate legal entity, patriotmobileaction.com, and they can do the contact there and reach me there. We also, I work for Patriot Mobile. That's my day job. That's a job I get paid for, and that's patriotmobile.com.
All right, fantastic. Thank you again for your time, and let's do it again soon, okay?
Thanks so much. God bless you.
God bless you. It's the Nightcap. We roll into another hour. Coming right up.
News, traffic, and weather. News Radio 700 WLW, Cincinnati.
At least 24 dead in the SoCal wildfires. With the 11 o'clock report, I'm Lee Mowen, breaking now.
It's going to cost tens of billions of dollars to get Los Angeles back to where it was. So we're going to need Congress to step up to provide funding to get this done.
That's President Joe Biden at a White House briefing earlier today, talking about the federal response needed to the Southern California wildfires and calling on lawmakers to pass recovery funding. However, one figure wants to place conditions on future aid for the Golden State. Here's ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
The House Speaker says it appears to him that California leaders have been derelict in their duty.
Water resource mismanagement, forest management mistakes, all sorts of problems.
Mike Johnson says any aid to California should be conditioned. The sense here is that it's too soon to know how great the need is, but the Speaker indicated there are already conversations ongoing about tying aid for Southern California to an increase in the debt ceiling, perhaps in an effort to get Democrats and Republicans on board behind it. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Meantime, ABC meteorologist Ginger Z states the red flag warnings are back thanks to the Santa Ana winds.
Now, the geography is slightly different. This time we're talking about the Santa Monica Mountains, but we're also San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and of course Calabasas, Agoura Hills, eastern San Gabriel Mountains, the Malibu coast are in the particularly dangerous situation red flag warning. That's something that on a normal year you'd see every 5 to 10 years, but they've had 4 this season alone.
Now the latest traffic and weather together. No accidents to report. You're looking good, Cincinnati.
Now, the latest forecast from the No Fear Dentist Weather Center. Advanced Dentistry. The thought of the dentist making you a nervous wreck? We're here for you. NoFearDentist.com.
On the way to our Tuesday morning, we're clouding up, and we'll see a morning low of 12. Our Tuesday, then, some snow showers at midday, a dusting or a bit more, a high of 23. At night, clearing out late, and a low down to 4. From your severe weather station, I'm 9 First Warning Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. News Radio 700 WLW.
No precipitation in the area. It's currently 13 degrees. It feels colder than 7. With temperatures set to dip, homeless shelters and warming stations preparing to help those in need. Here's Matt Reese.
We do our best work under duress.
Previous record was 404 people combined at the shelter house and their women's shelter on Reading Road. Last night, they set a new record of sheltering 411 people, according to the executive director, Arlene Nolan. That number could be even higher tonight and tomorrow night.
Normally, when the weather is extremely cold or hot, our numbers spike.
Nolan welcomes help to the shelter house in the form of men's underwear and sweatpants and, of course, money. From Queensgate, I'm Matt Reese. News Radio 700 WLW.
700 WLW. Sports.
The latest AP poll released earlier today for the men's side, Kentucky dropping 2 spots to number 8, Louisville receiving 17 votes. They're unofficially 30th. Cincinnati receiving 4 votes. They're unofficially 35th. Tennessee dropped 5 spots to number 6 after their first loss. And your new number 1 in men's hoops, Auburn. For the women, Kentucky moving up 3 spots to number 12. Louisville receiving 5 votes. They're unofficially 32nd. Tennessee scoots up 1 to 15th. And your number 1 team is UCLA. Announced Monday, the Reds coming back to a familiar channel.
The Reds were ready for Major League Baseball to take over the production and distribution of their games for the 2025 season. But it was announced on Monday that the team agreed to a new 1-year TV deal with Main Street Sports, formerly known as Diamond Sports Group, which owned Bally Sports Ohio, which was recently rebranded as FanDuel Sports Network Ohio. And of course, all 162 games can be heard on the Reds' flagship station, News Radio 700 WLW. I'm Sean Galbager.
I'm Lee Mowen. Our next update is at 11:30 on News Radio 700 WLW.
I love it.
Join the millions already on the new and improved iHeartRadio app.
It's so easy to use.
The live radio dial, presets, scan, plus lyrics, podcasts, and your favorite artists' radio.
Just type it in, and there it is.
Now it's even easier to discover what you love.
I love my presets. Adding presets is so much fun.
This looks really nice. Just in time for the new year, the new and improved iHeartRadio app. It's everything you love about your car radio in the palm of your hand.
Very cool update. 5 stars, guys.
How do you spot the all-new Nissan Rogue Rock Creek? Here's a hint. It's got all-terrain tires, a tubular roof rack you can't miss, and it's tough inside and out with lava red detailing. You'll also find it in its natural habitat, climbing mountains, attacking rugged trails, and never backing down from any adventure. The first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
Shake your phone now to visit nissanusa.com/rogue and explore the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek today.
Intelligent all-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Always secure cargo. Heavy loading of the vehicle with cargo, especially on the roof, will affect the handling and stability of the vehicle.
Well, did you know that reaching your weight loss goal is easier with a doctor's help? Future Health, the best online weight loss program, can connect you with doctors to aid your weight loss journey. Get started with an easy 3-minute survey at tryfh.com. Tryfh.com. Find out if weight loss meds like Ozempic or semaglutide are right for you in just 3 minutes at tryfh.com. Tryfh.com. Future Health is not a healthcare services provider. Meds are prescribed at provider's discretion. Results may vary. Sponsored by Future Health.
Into another hour of the Nightcap on 700 WLW. Good evening, Monday, the 13th of January, 2025. 1 week before some semblance of sanity returns to our federal government. Let's see if it filters down and trickles down to the rest of the country from there. To talk about America and can we reverse the decline, I guess is the question, is an editor and journalist, written for The Spectator, American Conservative, National Review, Washington Examiner, you name it. He's been there. Although I didn't notice the New York Times or the Washington Post, oddly enough. Is the author of Decline from the Top, Snapshots from America's Crisis and Glimmers of Hope, one Matt Purple. Matt, good evening and welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I think I wrote for the Washington Post once, but I don't brag about that anymore. So,
well, I'm surprised they allowed you to do it. That was, I guess, the joke there.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. You know, it's gotten a lot worse since. But yeah, it's good to be on your show.
All right, man. Great to have you. And let's go ahead and talk about the elephant on the TV screen, at least for the last week or so, because it's been a week since the wildfires first broke out, after the high wind warnings, after the mayor of Los Angeles' trip to Ghana. Oddly, she was going for a presidential inauguration in Ghana, but she won't be at Donald Trump's next Monday, Karen Bass. And the fact that same mayor cut funding to the fire department, which he said wouldn't have affected this particular crisis, $17.6 million. The fire hydrants went dry, Matt. And let me tell you something. My wife, now years ago, but in her 20s, she was a firefighter. And she was talking about how it was routine for them on a shift to go out and they would check the fire hydrants. And it happened almost every month. They would go out and make sure the fire hydrants were working properly. And this is something I am told you have to do. Number one, to make sure that the water's flowing out of the fire hydrant in case of a crisis. Number two, you want to make sure that you can get the damn thing off when the hoses need to be attached, because they will seize up if they are left sedentary for a long time. They'll rust over, and then they, even their special tool have a hard time getting those fire hydrants open in a case of an emergency. The fire hydrants were dry in Pacific Palisades, and I'm guessing they didn't have enough DEI candidates to go out and check them on a regular basis. I'm not sure. Any comments on any of this will be greatly appreciated.
I remember I was here in Alexandria one time, and we saw a fire truck go by, and the firefighters got out and started checking one of the hydrants. So it's something that in most places happens routinely. The fire hydrants went dry. There's a reservoir in the Pacific Palisades that held, tons and tons, gallons and gallons of water. That was also dry for reasons unknown. And this kind of thing happens in California all the time. I mean, just about every year. That last year was no exception. They had a problem with fires. This should have been their number one priority. We hear so much about how in California they build the buildings to be earthquake proof because they know that the big one is eventually coming. The more immediate threat is fires, right? So where is that level of foresight, that level of preparation? It was nowhere to be seen here. And I take the point very well about DEI, and I'm sure that played some malign role here. DEI always seems to be screwing up things wherever it pops up. But it's worth pointing out that the police chief, the female police chief out there, had been warning the other government departments that this was a problem. She was saying there's been mismanagement here. We've lost our money. Like we need help, or we're going to be in a crisis. And they never got that help. And it's a perfect storm of weather factors, right? You had these incredibly strong winds and incredibly dry situation there in California, but it's also, I think, a perfect storm of government incompetence.
Oh, it's total incompetence. There's no question about that playing a role, Matt. And I'll tell you, the other thing is that, did you see the DEI chief officer of the LAFD when posed the question, can you pull an adult man out of a fire? And she said basically to the extent of, to paraphrase, well, if I have to pull him out of the fire, he's obviously in the wrong place. And I'm like, is there a right place to be in the middle of a wildfire? I don't think so. You're in the wrong place because I am not competent and qualified to do my job.
Or their grand piece of advice to people who are out there is spray water on your roof to prevent it from catching fire, which I think is like, we just had a big snowstorm here in Virginia. I think is like me on the ground with table salt trying to stop the snow from coming.
Just kind of spooning it up onto the roof. Get a slingshot and a ball of salt, put it on your roof. That'll keep the snow off.
Yeah, and you know, already I saw a CNN headline yesterday, which was covering for California, of course, and saying no amount of preparation and water could have prevented these fires. And that may be true. That you know, we're going to have to do some investigating here. It may very well be that this was just such an unbelievable act of nature that if they had all the water in the world, they couldn't have stopped it from spreading as quickly as it did. But we also know that water helps. You know, like if you're going to fight a fire, you need water.
Yeah, geez, that's why they bring in the choppers and the big planes with all the water to drop it, because water does help. And it's not about could have prevented these wildfires, Matt. It's about fighting the fires once they erupt, and they were like a one-armed paper hanger, you know, because of their resources being limited. What could have prevented the wildfires has been a problem in California for decades. They have stopped doing proper forest management with all this dry underbrush, and they've not removed it. They do that in other parts of the country. The people that are real environmentalists know that to preserve nature and an ecosystem, you have to clear away the dead, the kindling, the fuel, especially if you live in an area that's very arid and has these high winds. There are more high winds expected. The Santa Anas are supposed to roar up again tomorrow. Let's see how they do.
Yeah, you nailed it, but you can't do anything like that anymore in California. You can't clear away the brush. You can't practice proper forestry. You can't, just to jump ahead here a little bit, you can't rebuild buildings after they burn down because of, you know, problems with the different government commissions out there. Environmental impact studies are usually at fault here. They're these long, winding processes where they have to check for the, you know, four-armed smelt or whatever the little animals they have out there are to make sure there's none nearby before they can do anything, before they can really do much of anything. This is a state that is really in the grips of the environmental bureaucracy. This is what environmental liberalism looks like in the year 2024, and it makes it just about impossible to do anything. And I heard Governor Newsom yesterday come out and say, just so you guys know, we understand a lot of rich people's houses burned down here. We're going to waive the environmental regulations. We're going to make sure the Coastal Commission doesn't get too involved so that you can rebuild quickly. And, well, how nice that in this situation they're allowing that to happen. But this is decades and decades of thickening bureaucracy. And it would be nice if you would say, actually, you know what? We need to reduce that. We need to make government more efficient, make government work better and do less. But that doesn't ever seem to be long-term on the menu in California.
Maybe not allocate $35 billion for a high-speed choo-choo that never gets built and is going to cost $135 billion if it ever does because of the time that it's taken and inflation and all the rest. Someone suggested that Gavin Newsom spent the money that should have been spent on forestry and water diversion on his hair gel instead of actually taking care of his job as governor to serve and protect the people who elected him and pay his salary. This is an amazing, amazing pile of incompetence in a dress suit, and I can't believe that the man actually has delusions of running for president someday.
Well, look, those COVID lunches at the French Laundry are not going to pay for themselves. I mean, they have to come from somewhere. And apparently this was it. We know, by the way, that the money that was supposed to go to the fire department was rerouted by Karen Bass and the L.A. government into social programs. Yep. So we know that this was taking money from good firefighting, from what was really needed in California, and rerouting it into the same social programs that seem to have only led to more homelessness and more middle-class Californians fleeing the state. So, yeah, I think it's, you need a real reckoning of fiscal priorities once this is all over.
Well, she's a Marxist, and there's nothing good that comes of Marxism in a country like America. There's nothing good that comes of Marxism in any country, and I thought we had a democracy or republic and not a Marxist totalitarian regime in charge, but it sure seemed like it from the